Well, we have another dynamic speaker for you all this evening. If I can have your attention, I'd like to introduce our next speaker. Our next speaker is Mr. Scott M. Johnson. Scott M. Johnson is a branding guru and the founder and CEO of Sirius Cycling, a premier cycling brand headquartered in Southern California. His passion for the transformative power of cycling led him to create Sirius Cycling in 2009. In addition to Sirius Cycling, Mr. Johnson also created the Malibu Grand Fondo and Ride, a foundation dedicated to growing the love of cycling. These brands are recognized throughout the U.S. and Europe in offering retail location experiences, event production, and race clubs that appeal to every level of our sport. Having served as president of the Southern California Cycling Association, Scott is genuinely passionate about helping young people achieve their goals through cycling. Prior to entering the bicycling industry, Mr. Johnson held executive leadership roles in various video game companies, including Vivendi Universal Games, Universal Studios, and Emergent Game Technologies. Mr. Johnson is a graduate of Harvard Business School, and he started his career as a CPA with Deloitte and Touche. So without further ado, it's my pleasure and honor to invite to the podium Mr. Scott M. Johnson.
Stood up a little early back there. Well, good evening, fellow cyclists and distinguished guests. There's a lot of national champions in this room, and it's really nice to see everybody outside of the kit. You know, I was invited back up here by a good friend to speak tonight, and he's one of the instrumental guys in putting all this together. Ken's done a very impressive job of bringing everybody here tonight, and just a big round of applause for Ken Vincent. So look, I'm not here to talk to you guys about the transformative value of cycling, you know, how it can help you focus in your life, how it brings you personal joy, teaches people about personal responsibility. You guys know all that. What I do want to share with you a little bit is how cycling is perceived in the rest of the world and how it kind of translates here in the U.S. You know, for most of the world, the bicycle is a tool. It's a tool for transportation. Here in the U.S., 330 million people, the bicycle is first thought of as a toy. And, you know, that really shapes how our infrastructure has been built, how people think about our sport, and slowly, we're bringing it into our lives for transportation. We've got 330 million people in the U.S., and about 50 million people identify with cycling as a sport. So 50 million people, it's about 15% of the population, they recognize cycling as something other than a toy, maybe something other than transportation. That's a big opportunity for us, a really big opportunity. USA Cycling as a whole is about 60,000 members. So out of 50 million people, we only have 60,000 members It's like 0.12%. Okay? So there's this really great opportunity to introduce what we all love to like 49.8 million people. How do we do that? How do we do that in a way that's safe, in a way that can scale, and in a way that's fun? So what this is all about, it's the All Clubs Gala. We do this by building more clubs. Clubs are at the center of our culture. Clubs are what we need to go from 0.12% to 12%. Yes, absolutely. So here in LA, our local area is called the Southern California Nevada Cycling Association. In case you're not aware, we are the largest local association for USA Cycling. We represent 10% of the total rider days per year. That's about 30,000 rider days. So there's 300,000 rider days per year in organized events through USA Cycling. We're 10% of that. What that translates to in terms of registered clubs, 23. 23 registered clubs here in Southern California. Okay? That's not a lot. So, there's a huge opportunity for us if we start thinking about how to grow our sport. And what's really great is we've got a generation of kids that are coming up right behind us. So guys, I'm sorry if I'm boring you with numbers. I wanted to do a slideshow, but Ken said I had to have it in by the 16th, and that wasn't going to happen. Here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. Think about COVID. Think about your neighborhoods. If you were 10, 11 years old when COVID hit, what'd you do for the next 2 years? You went outside, and if you were lucky and you had a toy, you rode your bike. We saw kids riding bikes over the last few years in every neighborhood, probably more so than the last 2 decades. And those kids have fallen in love with riding a bike. We have a huge pipeline of talent all across the country, certainly here in LA, that have discovered the bike. Look at NICA. Look at these kids in high school racing mountain bikes. The pipeline going into this is so exciting. What we need to do is prepare by building more clubs. We don't need 1 or 2 really huge clubs. We need lots of clubs. So I want to share with you a little bit of the formula that's been successful for us in building our clubs and our teams. And certainly Curran has done an amazing job. And I just want to kind of run through some of what we've done. It starts with the most basic of gestures. When you're on the bike and you ride by another cyclist, just wave hi. Just wave hi. Too many times, I ride a lot, like you guys, and all I see is, right? That's not friendly, that's not encouraging. What we just need to do is put an olive branch out there and say hi to people. But what becomes really important when you're forming a club is that you base it on some principles. And there's room for all kinds of clubs. But the important part is that you create some principles on what your club is about. If you don't establish those things, the people around you will establish their own ideas. One really simple principle that I started a long time ago with our club was that cycling starts at 8. Sounds really simple, but it could be raining, It could be 110. It could be, you know, the day after a long race. But if our club gets together, hey Scott, what time's the ride start? You know, you're not gonna hear, it's gonna be a little hot today. I think we'll start early. Or it's gonna be a little cold. I think we'll start late. Cycling starts at 8. And if you're not there, you're missing the ride. Now that works for our club, right? But without a principle in place, people don't know what time to show up. What that does is it provides a level of understanding and creates an equal possibility for everybody. Create some rules, create some principles, and everybody will have an opportunity to see a positive outcome. The other thing that's really important is to remember to have inspirational encouragement. You know, cycling is often described as an S sport, an S-shaped curve. I don't know if you guys have heard that, but you see a lot of progress in the beginning, and then you kind of taper, and then you see a lot of progress, and then you taper, right? I hate that taper, Sean. I hate it. But you gotta have encouragement, right? You gotta have people that are there to help you feel like you're part of the group and that it's normal and include you on how to get through and hit the next curve up. So organizing principles and keeping things inspirational are really important if we're going to have equity and inclusion in our clubs. The other thing that's really important here in LA is looking good. You got to have a sleek brand. You got to have a good kit. And if you don't, you know, if you're not looking good on the bike, you're probably not feeling good. The last thing is the ride leaders. There's a basic level of fitness, and we have a joke. We just kind of say that nobody wants advice from the last person up the hill. Right? You don't need to be first, but you can't be last. So, guys, as we're building out these clubs, the proof is in the pudding. If there's diversity in the club, and there's a broad spectrum of opportunity out there, that's proof that we're building things in a way that's going to be sustainable and scalable. I've brought one metaphor to talk about before we leave tonight. And one of the things, some of you that know me know that I really appreciate a good margarita. And making a good margarita can go bad real quick. And I kind of think about it like new riders. It's really tempting to go out there and buy a really expensive bottle of tequila and make this margarita with a premix or, you know, a bunch of sweet and sour, something like that. Just like when new riders get into the sport, it's really tempting to buy a over expensive bike, a bunch of expensive kit. That's not the magic. The magic is understanding the right ingredients. A good club is not like an expensive bottle of tequila. A good club is like limes. They're organic. You got to have the right number. You got to have the right kind. Okay? These are key lines or Mexican lines, and it's a really simple formula. 3 limes, 2 shots of a good tequila. It doesn't need to be a great tequila. And 1 shot of triple sec. And let me know when I'm coming over. So guys, let's build some more clubs. With clubs comes racing, And with racing comes a lot of important lessons for our young people. If anybody has any questions, come see me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Scott.